joins the Antisocial Network.
Yeah. Mask up, stay 6 feet apart.
Yeah, right.
Hey, welcome once again to YUH with Lisa, Phil, and Aaron. We are being joined this week by Kurt Ellenberger. He is a musician, an educator, an author. So, Kurt, give us a little background.
Yeah, I'm a pianist. I originally started as a trumpet player. I'm from the Detroit area, and I kind of just got hooked on music when I was a teenager. Started taking it really seriously and was working professionally by the time I was 16 or 17 in the Detroit area, and had a great career doing that. And then I decided, I decided to go back to school, and I got my master's and doctorate degree, and have been teaching music ever since. And I just retired about a month ago.
Oh, wow. Congratulations.
Wow.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes. Although you were doing something you loved, so it probably wasn't drudgery going into work every day or anything, but
Absolutely not. It was such a privilege to be able to just share my passion for music with these really great students for 26, actually 31 years. So it was never, especially the teaching part, that part I always really enjoyed. Yeah, some of the other stuff kind of wears on you after a while, but yeah, the teaching stuff, I always just really loved it because I was so privileged to just be able to share what I love with interested and really great students.
yeah.
So you don't go back to the Motown era then? You only go back about 30 some odd years musically there? Or
Let's see. I started when I started playing in Detroit.
yeah.
That's who I found out was in the bands. There were a lot of the players who were on the Motown records,
Makes sense.
which was really incredible. I'm sitting there as a 16-year-old, and up the chair from me is Maurice Davis, who was the lead trumpet guy on all of them, a lot of those Motown recordings. So it was, Detroit has such a rich musical history. It was a great place to grow up, both jazz and R&B and Motown and all of it.
Yeah.
So you're
That's
playing
fascinating.
with all those guys. That's amazing.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Right. 16 years old. That is incredible. So you were born in Ontario, but
Yep.
from what I understand, it's kind of okay. You're in Ohio. Cincinnati's right across the street from, or right across the river from Kentucky. And so, it sort of all bleeds together. And you Canadian born, but you really, Detroit was having, you were in Detroit quite a bit as a youngster, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. I studied with some of the players over there. And so that kind of got me integrated into the scene. And I was really serious about it. Once it took hold, I started practicing 3-4 hours a day, much to the chagrin of my family sometimes. But you get pretty good if you're doing that amount of time in a few years. So it just grew.
Mm-hmm.
When did you start playing piano?
I played accordion as a kid.
Oh,
So
wow.
I had a pretty good right hand, not a very good left hand, and I decided I felt really limited by the trumpet. By the time I was 18, 19, I just felt like, I need more.
Not enough
I need
notes.
to do not enough notes. Yeah, I want to get into the harmony more. I just need the bigger picture. And I really got fired up when I found the jazz pianist Bill Evans. I heard his music and I thought, this is what I got to do. It just flipped my whole
So
paradigm on
instead
its
of going
head.
trombone, you went piano. Okay.
I went piano, and I did the same thing as I did when I was younger. I just went nuts. I was doing 5 or 6 hours a day. And like I said, I had a good right hand already because I played pretty accomplished on the accordion as well. But piano is a different beast, and certainly with the left hand, it was different than punching buttons. So that was a lot of work, but it worked out. It worked out really well.
I know Lisa and Phil have a favorite accordion player. I'll leave that for them to reveal.
That's right.
Okay.
Uncle Al, baby.
Uncle Al. Okay.
No,
yeah.
I was thinking Weird Al.
Yeah.
Weird Al. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was showing you.
Is Uncle Al
curveball.
left-handed?
I was showing you a
I mean,
curveball. Yeah.
never mind.
Yeah, Uncle Al was a Cincinnati children's television host, and he did play an accordion every day.
Yeah, but he has
Yeah.
very
Really?
You could have just said Al and been right.
Oh, I wasn't allowed to watch Uncle Al.
No?
Yeah.
Sometimes Captain Wendy wore sunglasses indoors.
Yeah.
Right. Uncle Al had some baggage. There's no doubt about
Captain
it.
Wendy was Uncle Al's wife.
That's a local
Okay.
Cincinnati story.
Yeah.
But anyway,
So
yeah.
And my
she
mom
wears-
knew them.
So
I
she
think
wears
she's
her
insinuating
sunglasses at
she's
night.
insinuating that he beat
And
her.
indoors.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, that was a little joke there that went off on a dark path, but
Yeah.
that's um,
Yeah.
Keep the potassium level up, man. You don't know how dark she's going to get on you.
right. Got to get the IV going.
Yeah,
But
it's back up.
so I wonder, as a young kid, you hear these things. I'm not a huge. I don't know a lot about jazz music. We talk a little bit about Miles Davis, Dizzie, Gillespie. The topic has been broached. Aaron has a favorite Miles Davis album, I know. But what you do hear about some of the wilder sides of jazz music and the I guess the culture. So, young man, did you come across? I mean, were you in like late night clubs with these guys, and did you see any of this like I don't know drug use or marijuana smoking or anything like that?
Marijuana smoking.
There was always a little.
Yeah.
there was. Well, I can tell you a funny story. I was on
jazz
tour.
musicians smoking marijuana. That's what you're going after.
Yeah, unheard of, right?
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to get.
I'm thinking more of the fact that the music industry seemed to have a lot more of the more serious drugs like cocaine and heroin.
Well, this sounds like the 90s, so yeah, it probably was the cocaine scene by then.
Yeah, so I'll tell you a funny story. Do you guys know remember the Rat Pack?
Oh yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So with Joey Bishop. So I toured with him. I was the lead trumpet player on this tour that we actually started in Cleveland. Where we rehearsed for 2 weeks, and then we went down the East Coast all the way to Atlantic City, but all kinds of venues in between. And we got to New York City, and we were at the Playboy Club. I was 18 years old. Everyone else was in their mid 20s or close to 30, or some were even older than that. So I was this little kid. And they said, well, there's a party in this room, whatever the room number was. So I go up there, and everybody's there, and on the bed is a suitcase that's open, and it's got these little plastic packets with white powder in it. And I'm freaking out. I mean, I'm from Canada, but I knew that wasn't snow.
Yeah.
It was,
Right. Well,
so I'm
traditionally.
Yeah. So I'm freaking out. Like, what is this? And they said, what are you worried about? I said, well, if the police come, I got to get out of here. So the tour guide, the guy who is kind of the security, he takes his wallet out and he says, the police are here. He was a New York cop, and it was his suitcase.
His stash.
So what he was doing was he was giving cocaine to DJs in the cities that we went to play the director's band. So the director was a guy named Roy Radin, and he had these bands that he was promoting, and so that's how he got the DJs to hopefully play his band's music, because by that point they couldn't do the cashola anymore. That had kind of gone away in the 60s. So strangely enough,
gave way to Coca-Cola.
Coca-Cola, that's right. And then he was murdered a year later. His girlfriend was a big cocaine importer, and he had the screenwriting, the rights to the Cotton Club movie with Richard Gere. He was trying to break into Hollywood, and he borrowed a bunch of money from the girlfriend, I think, who borrowed that money from the cartels, and they couldn't pay up, and the girlfriend had him murdered. So it was kind of a weird story, but that was one of my introductions to kind of the seedy side of the music business. But for the most part, there was not really any of that going on. It was some guys would smoke a little pot. That was about it. So I didn't really see any hard drugs or anything like that, other than that little incident.
Till the Playboy Club. Yeah.
Till the Playboy Club in New York City. Yep.
Yeah. Well, we had to go there. We had to go down.
Yeah, we needed to. I mean, did you find it?
The Grateful Dead put acid in the coffee at the Playboy Club, famously.
Whoa. That's
creepy. That's not okay.
Well, I was just thinking of a 16 or 17-year-old boy. I mean, that's a huge, that's a very adult environment to get, involved in. So, but the Cleveland Mafia was huge, like back in the 60s or in the 70s, or this is the 90s, you said, right?
This is the early 80s.
Early 80s. Okay. Joey Bishop. And when you said everybody was there, did you see like Sammy and Dino?
No,
It's just Joey
Joey.
Bishop, I think.
Joey was the headliner.
Okay.
Jack Jones was on the show, the guy who sang the Love Boat theme.
Okay.
So it was kind of a
Exciting
vaudeville thing.
and
No, yeah, you got it. So there are a bunch of those kind of acts, like old, like that people in their 50s, 60s would still know, but the young people probably wouldn't know who they
old
who they are.
crooners, basically.
Right.
Yep.
Well, when we went to Vegas, we saw a pretty good Rat Pack act
Review.
when we were there.
Yeah.
The Dean Martin guy was dead on. I mean,
he was good.
Wow.
And when we walked out, he's like, he stuck his hand out and he said, I'm from Steubenville, Ohio. He was still in character. He was talking about, I'm from Steubenville, Ohio. You folks are from Cincinnati. And he was like, his face was obscured by shadow, and you could have sworn you were talking to Dean Martin. It was great.
Yeah.
Wow.
We were very highly impressionable, I guess.
Mm-hmm. And then, I will say the Sammy Davis was a replacement.
Well, that's tough. That's probably the toughest one to emulate, I would imagine, would be Sammy Davis. But anyway, Kurt
you don't have to poke out your eye, but
Kurt comes from a very academic point of view with music. He's you majored in
actually, he got a BA. He majored in music with a BA, correct?
Bachelor of Arts.
That was my undergrad. Yep.
Now, one of the things that you indicated in one of the interviews that we reviewed, that you really didn't want a music education degree. So how do you feel that did or didn't put you into the career you ended up with in education?
Well, I guess I always thought, I was teaching for a long time private lessons, and I really enjoyed it. And I thought, I don't think I need a degree in this. I think I can, because of my experience and my professional experience, I'm bringing a lot to the table without really needing a pedagogy degree. And it worked out really well, I think, because I just love talking about music. I'm really passionate about it. And I think that comes across to the students. When someone is really passionate about what they're into, it's infectious. It spreads. So I think that was really what mattered to me is, I'm really interested in this. I'm passionate about it, and I like to share my experiences with it. So that's why I felt, well, what kind of degree do I want to do? I was really into music theory and kind of the physics of it too, and the acoustics of it. And so I thought I'm going to go the theory composition route as opposed to getting a performance degree, because I could already perform. I was already a professional performer, and I didn't see that adding that much. But I did study classical piano at the doctoral level as well, just to increase my scope and my skills.
So what kind of music were you exposed to at home? The jazz, was that a natural progression for you, or did you kind of go off and discover it yourself?
That I discovered myself, but our house was very musical. I started lessons when I was 5. My sister started lessons when she was around the same age. And our house just had a lot of music in it because my dad was a singer. He sang in the church choir, he sang in a community choir, and we sang at home all the time. So bedtime was me and my sister and my dad he's putting us to bed, and we're singing folk songs and rounds and canons. And I just thought this was what normal people do. And then when I started hanging out with the other,
wound up to sleep, right?
Oh, I think it actually kind of calmed everything down, and it was
depends on the music.
It was a nice ritual. Yeah.
Well, okay. So you mentioned education, and you came here today to educate us a little bit, I think. And you did agree to play some music. We have a graph that we wanted to work through, but how would you like to start that presentation, with the music or with the graph or what?
Yeah, let's start with just this short little presentation. So I'm going to play something, just a short thing, just 30 seconds. And then I'm going to ask you to imagine what the next note should be. And if you can, try to sing it. If you can't, I'll play it and you can say, yeah, that's the note I thought it was. So if we could just kind of have you be my choir for one gig, a one note gig. Okay,
see
ready?
what we can do here.
Okay, here you go.
Doom.
Yeah, I think low. Yeah,
Is that the note? Yeah, Aaron, you
Pretty
hit
much,
it, right? Okay,
yeah.
so here's the weird thing. I don't know how much experience you have with music, but I didn't play that note. So you somehow calculated that note, your brain did, and sent the signal to your vocal cords to go to that pitch and sing it. How does that happen?
All right.
I think math. I'm
It's
doing
kind of
math in my
weird.
head.
Did you say
It's kind of
math?
weird.
Math,
Math. Okay, math.
not math.
Philip.
But Aaron, I didn't know. You know. So.
Yeah, because
Well, you're-
Aaron's so known for his math.
Yeah.
Well,
My double majors math and
He is
computer
not.
science.
Math makes a lot more sense.
Well, you're right, Aaron. It is math. Your brain made a calculation based on the relationship of the sound waves you heard, and it supplied that note as the quote unquote solution. So how does that work? So I'll go into that a little bit because I think it's really quite fascinating. So
Okay.
if I play, everyone knows, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, or the piano keyboard, and then it starts again. And it's an octave up. We call that an octave up. But what's weird, if I play the C here, and then I play it an octave up, it's a totally different pitch. They're totally different pitches. But somehow we hear those as being, well, the second one is the same as the first one, it's just higher. But in reality, it's a completely different pitch. So what is it that relates those two pitches? Well, it's that their waves are very symmetrical. So the first one, if I'm going to play that low C, let's say the string length is 10 inches, the C above it, to get the C above it, I have to go half of that string length. So it would be 5. To go to the C above it, I would go half again. So they're in a relationship of 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, right? And we keep on going. Do you
Fibonacci
remember?
sequence.
Yeah, it's the binary series, right? So it's that 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, 128. I mean, people our age know that that's what the computer memory used to come in, right? Then it goes 256, 512, and so on. So that binary series is at the heart of the computer, that the computers that we're using to have this conversation. So it's deeply embedded there, but it's also found in music, and we recognize those string lengths, or we recognize the symmetry between the 1 and the 2 and the 2 and the 4. So a quick little exercise. If I asked you to take an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper and fold it in half, could you do it?
I think
With
so.
relative,
Yeah.
with pretty much good accuracy, right?
Yeah.
If I said quarters, could you do it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What if I said 11?
No.
That
Now,
I can't remember
now-
if that's the one that's impossible or unlikely.
Yeah.
any of those that are not multiples of 2 are going to be difficult to do.
Right,
You'd need to
right.
get a ruler out. So that binary series is really interesting, again, because it's at the heart of the computers, the entire computer industry, but it's also at the start of life. So when a sperm meets an egg, that divides into 2 cells, and then those 2 cells divide into 4, and then those 4 divide into 8. So we find this kind of symmetrical, beautiful numerical relationship, binary series, in all of these different places, which is pretty fascinating. So
It's the golden ratio too, right?
That's right. Yeah, it's really pretty interesting. So what's happening is we hear those waves that are in the 1, 2, 4, 8 relationship, and maybe you could show that diagram now, and I'll kind of walk you through that.
Sure. Let's see here.
There we go. So let's go to the second one, example 2. So there's a C, so that string length, right, that C4 is vibrating like that, going up and down. And then we cut it in half, and if you put, so that's an octave up, and the one under it is another octave up, and another octave up. So we have a string length here of 1, 2, 4, and 8, and you can see how symmetrical they are. They all share, they share points where there's no vibration. It cuts the string in half, then it cuts it in half again, and then show the next example. You can see all 4 of those together, and you can see it's kind of pretty, right? There's a symmetry there. It almost looks like a flower or a sunburst or something
Or
like that.
stained glass or something. Yeah.
Yeah. So your ear hears that when it's hearing these notes played together. It's hearing that they divide up symmetrically. When you hear something else, all of a sudden the symmetry is gone. So let's go to the next diagram.
That diagram you're leaving now reminds me of Stewie from The Family Guy.
I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
I
was
hadn't thought of
thinking,
that.
I wonder if
That
Stewie
looks
said
like-
it is a
I thought
football.
that looks like a bunch of oblong heads with big eyes and no other facial features. And then about a minute later, I went, "That's Stewie."
Mhm.
Right.
Maybe I should
I was
put a
thinking
UFO
exactly
in that
the
one.
same thing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So then this last one is the same diagram, but now I've put a 15 string length in there. So I've chopped that up into 15 parts, and you can see that the symmetry is destroyed, right? They're not lining up, and we hear the fact that symmetry is not there. So here's again that sound. So what's really interesting is that when your ear hears that asymmetry, it supplies the nearest factor of 2 going down usually. Sometimes it goes up. So when your ear hears this, so that's a kind of an amen at the end of a hymn or any kind of tune, really. So what you're hearing there is an 11 moving down to a 10. And your ear fills that in, and you're expecting that as a listener. So this is what gives music its narrative power, because the composer can either give you what you're expecting or can trick you and give you something that you're not expecting. And that creates a musical narrative, because your brain is doing the math. It's filling in the lowest multiple of 2 as the solution to the asymmetry. And really, without that, I don't think we would have music, because that's what gives music its peculiar power to be able to tell a story even when there's not words there.
Yeah. Well, that's fascinating. It's like tantalizing. It's
So in a sense,
there's a payoff.
asymmetry adds more emotion.
Yes, without that symmetry and the asymmetry and the automatic response, which fills in or expects the symmetrical solution, we would not have emotional content in music. There would be no expectation, and without expectation, you really can't expect. You really don't have that emotional power that music has over us.
Yesterday morning, I watched the movie One Battle After Another. And there was one scene where it's just a truck driving down a dirt road. But I was like, wow, this is really intense. This is so intense. What's going on? And then I saw I had the closed captioning on, and it said tense music playing. And I'm like, that's what it is. There was a piano chord that just kept going, gung, gung, gung. It was just asymmetric.
Yeah. And that's what makes
it made my hair kind of stand on end a little bit.
Yeah, because so if you hear something like that, like in a horror movie, your brain is looking for the simple solution, but there isn't one.
Can't solve it. Yeah.
It can't solve the math. So that's also why your car horn is not a major chord. Like someone cuts you off on I-75. You hit the horn, and it's more like you're sending over a bunch of complex numbers and saying, here, chew on that, pal. There's no solution for it. I hope it bugs you. So you don't play it. It's not a major chord that says, please don't cut me off. right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So it's the same thing in movies, same thing in horror movies or in that play tense music. It's relying on the fact that your brain can't solve the math problem, and that makes you anxious. That makes you kind of tense,
Yeah.
which
You're wondering where it's going to terminate. Is it going to terminate into a murder, or is it going to be something,
Right.
some kind of jump scare?
Something was coming to a head there. Yeah.
exactly. So
Right.
without
Yeah,
that
and if-
ability, how does it work? It doesn't.
Makes you feel vulnerable.
Just watching a boring
Yeah.
truck going
Scared.
down the road.
Yeah.
If you don't have
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's
Right,
fascinating.
exactly. I've seen a documentary. We watched something about music in film and in cinema, and watching the exact same scene without the music, completely different. I mean, that music really feeds into the emotion of the situation.
I have
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I have a little. I hesitate to tell this because it reveals me to be something of adult. But I was watching a movie one time that had a defect in it. I was watching it on a jailbroken Fire Stick, which you should never do, by the way. You should never do that. But it had a defect in it. It was Insidious. The movie was Insidious, and I watched it for a good 35
Not the
movie was
name
called
of the
Insidious, or
I think it was called Insidious.
Okay.
Oh, really? Okay.
And the movie, all it did, I watched the movie. I could follow it along, but there was no dialogue or anything. All it was this pulsating, like, and I listened to it mesmerized for about 35 minutes before I realized there was a defect. I thought the movie was actually written that
I
way.
thought it was an artistic choice.
Yeah, because it actually, everything made sense. You could tell what was happening, and everything was, the actors were very
That's good
emotive.
filmmaking too.
Yeah, so that was weird. That's
funny.
weird. But
funny.
it kind of shows that sounds can kind of mesmerize you, or like you said, tantalize you, and you expect, you expect some sort of payoff at some point, and when you don't,
Yep.
yeah. But
That's
Yeah.
yeah. I don't think that makes you seem like adult. You did follow the narrative,
yeah,
but
It-
you usually
yeah,
don't watch that type of movie.
it was so visual.
so it
There was like a
kinda-
car wreck, and then they showed the grieving parents because a child was in the car wreck, and people. It was so easy to follow that you didn't need the dialogue.
So the lesson here is always get your entertainment from legal channels.
Exactly. Aaron is a part of the anti-piracy team, or he
Yep.
was.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
At Disney. So
Now I do have a question. I don't know if you have looked at. See, I have ADHD, and
Mhm.
for a long time, certain music would just, and I never realized it was related to my ADHD until much later. So the question is, I mean, because neither of my parents, well, my dad, they pretty much thought he might have ADHD, but he was never diagnosed. But my grandmother definitely had, if not full-blown ADHD, she was in there somewhere. My mother's mother, but my mother was, fairly much a norm as far as that goes. And so I don't know where I was going with that.
your ADHD.
How very ADHD
the
that
music,
went.
the music that bothers you.
Right. Is there, what's the science on that? Because I do know other people with ADHD who said they have the same reaction to very similar types of music. Like, for instance, it tends to be, for me, straight instrumentals, where it's just the one instrument.
And
Okay.
to give you
whatever
one other fact about Lisa is
Mhm.
she's the only person I know that is technically tone deaf.
Yeah, I took a test. And
Interesting.
it said I was significantly tone deaf.
Well, then we had a
So-
guest on the show diagnosed her with misophonia as well.
That's
Oh, what?
kind
I
of
don't
the
know what that
same
is.
thing as misophonia is unexplained reactions to sound, music, sound, certain,
Interesting.
yeah.
Certain people,
Honestly, I have
chewing
I have
noises and things like that.
right. Oh yeah, I definitely have that.
Like
Definitely.
Ween.
I've actually, my brother was walking around eating one day, and I just looked up and I said, "Would you and stop breathing?" And he looked at me all shocked, and I was like, look, you have to stop making that noise. Okay. Chew with your mouth closed. And some other people I know can be guilty of that.
Uh-oh.
Even I
Mhm.
offend Lisa occasionally.
I'll be like, could you close your mouth while you're chewing? Yeah. And I don't have that visceral reaction like I did when I was, where I just automatically go straight from 0 to 60.
So I think
Mhm.
what you're getting at is
I mean, murderous.
You're
like,
talking
here's
about-
the knife. I have a knife. Shut up.
So you have auditory triggers.
Right. I do. Definitely.
you're saying like when something disrupts the order of things that Kurt was talking about, and your expectation of the next note, when something disrupts that, and you find it discordant.
We
and
don't
disordinate.
know if it's the
I don't
symmetry
know
thing,
if it's,
but
I don't know if
I think
it's
that's
that.
what she's trying to find out.
Okay.
Right.
Well,
I'm asking.
let's see. Yeah, let's see what Kurt has to say about it.
Yeah, well, I think one of the things that because music is everywhere, we're constantly surrounded by it, that we discount how powerful it is in terms of its mimetic quality. So when you go to a funeral, right, you walk in, the music is slow, it's soft, it's probably minor key, it's gentle. There aren't really harsh rhythmic things happening. It's probably fairly melodic. Again, slow, quiet, right? And when you go into that environment, we naturally will mimic the gestures of what we're hearing in the music. So the music is saying, hey, you need to be quiet here. You need to be reflective. Don't call attention to yourself. No, don't make a lot of noise. Don't laugh. This isn't a place to be laughing. And it generally works like that. Similarly, if you go to a party and the music, you walk in and it's loud and it's, all of a sudden you're getting hyped up, or you go to, or you go to work out, right? You don't put slow, somber music on to help you at the gym. You put on the fast moving stuff. Why? Because our body is an electrical machine. Our hearts are beating anywhere, around 60, 70 beats per minute. So when we hear a bass drum that's at double that, which is 120 beats per minute, our whole system starts to mimic it. So that's how it works. And I don't think most people understand that that's one of the powers of music, is that we mimic especially the rhythmic gestures that are in the music, right? So I would guess that something in that music that you're listening to is doing two things. One, maybe there's rhythmic parts of it that annoy you, or that are kind of amping you up, and your ADHD is saying, I don't want to be amped up right now. So you struggle against it. And it's also probably the math that I just talked about, is that your brain in your subconscious is trying to solve the riddle. It's trying to solve the asymmetry of what you're hearing. And maybe for you that comes out more powerfully when it's a solo instrument, because there's nothing to hide behind when it's a solo piano or a solo guitar. It's just right up there. There's no other kind of wallpaper around it that softens it. So I would guess it's a combination of those two things, and I could easily see that could trigger that kind of more violent reaction out of you, with that condition.
I feel like I seek out the more difficult to solve music, the Frank
He does.
and the Fish.
Yes.
Chaotic is what I call it.
It's not chaotic.
Well, it's
very
not
much-
chaotic.
It is to me.
It's just
chaotic.
it's
chaotic in my.
it's Aaron's taste.
It's mathematical.
Right. Well, no, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But that's where that's one of the reasons why the world goes
It's
around.
stuff that tickles my
Yeah.
brain.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it is really fascinating when you say, well, I really like this kind of music, and then you bring this new band that you found to a friend of yours, and they don't like it. Like, what's going on? They like most of the other stuff that you like, but they don't like this band. What is it about that? Right? It's such an interesting discussion, because I think music, when whoever's writing the music is doing so from a very deep, profound, psychological, emotional place. And the music is reflecting that person's personality and their psychology. And when you listen to the music, when that vibrates with you and that resonates with your personality, then it clicks. When it doesn't, then it doesn't click. You don't like the you don't like the music. So I think that's really a profound part of it too, is how music is just so special in that it somehow captures personality and psychology and worldview even to a certain extent.
Right. But and that brings us to the topic of jazz. And
Yeah.
I know you're also a composer. That's part of your part of the equation for Kurt. And jazz seems to me, and this is based on my boss loves music, but he was telling me one time he did not like jazz because there was no structure. There was not so much of this familiarity that we're talking about, or the expectations of the next note. It seems that jazz is
he likes
designed,
the predictability of more pedestrian.
right. He seems to, I mean, the nature of jazz is to challenge you and surprise you musically, it seems. So how did you, in your composing, and a lot of people think, oh, it's just improvisational. Miles Davis gets up there and just starts hitting stuff and or whatever. And but when you bring structure to something that's inherently, or that seems to a layman to be inherently non-structured, what kind of challenges does that present you as a composer?
Well, most of the composition I did was in classical music. So I just finished I just had a piece premiered, a quartet or a suite of pieces for cello ensemble. So most of the stuff that I did composing was in the classical realm, but I also did jazz. So I would say that in jazz there is structure there. It's just harder for people to hear if they're not familiar with the piece that's being played. So, for example, I'm sure maybe the tune "All the Things You Are," or let's pick some other standard from the 40s. Do you like any of those tunes, right? Like take the A Train, Duke Ellington.
Okay,
brown
I think
jug.
I've heard that.
Take the A Train. Okay.
There you go.
Take the A Train.
A Train.
Yeah. Harlem.
Yeah. Yep, you got it. So if you know the tune really well, and then someone improvises over it, you've got the structure and the framework kind of in the background. So that really helped the early jazz musicians because they were doing a lot of their tunes were pulled directly from the Broadway songbook. So there were famous singers singing the tunes. Everyone knew the melody, and then jazz musicians would play the melody and then improvise on it. So they had kind of a place where you have a toehold, right? Because the tune is already in everyone's head. That was less and less the case once we get into the 50s and 60s because the popular music just didn't have that kind of harmonic richness for jazz musicians. Yeah, it just didn't work. But there are some bands, and I would encourage you to give this a try. So YouTube a band called The Bad Plus, and they do like jazz versions of popular music. So they do Tears for Fears, Everybody Wants to Rule the World. They do Queen, We Are the Champions. And they do Nirvana. What's the
Nevermind.
Nevermind. Yeah. So when you listen to those, then you'll be able to understand it because you know the structure of the tune first. So I think that's one of the big issues that jazz has, is that it used to be so pinned to popular music and Broadway, so that listeners that didn't know it still had a way in, but that kind of went away by the time we get to the 50s and 60s, certainly. And so that makes it more difficult. But there is structure there. It's just much more complex. So you really have to kind of move into it slowly with easier stuff and then progress with it if you're interested in it.
So like maybe if you don't have a
maybe your boss is a simpleton?
Well, I would not dare to say that. I would not say that, but that's his taste,
Especially the likelihood is his company
tacking that on to calling yourself
monitoring our. His company's probably monitoring our broadcast.
Well, we'd take the listens even if they were. We would take.
Okay.
Just know that you took a shot at yourself before I took a little shot at your boss.
Right. Well,
now I find what you're saying about jazz interesting because I do find jazz annoying.
Well,
I've always disliked jazz. I love the blues.
She needs
but not
lyrics.
jazz.
She can't have anything instrumental. She has to have lyrics.
Oh,
and
yeah,
that's what
okay.
she
Yeah, I
that's
do
what
have
she
to.
hooks to.
I have enjoyed some instrumentals, but in the majority, if it's an instrumental, I'm like, no,
Do you like Manhattan Transfer?
I don't know.
They're a jazz.
Yeah, probably not.
See, they're more vocal, I think. Yeah.
Yeah,
Vocal,
they're
yeah,
vocal.
quartet,
Yeah.
vocal
But I
quartet.
mean, it's not even about the lyrics. I just, even with lyrics, jazz, I don't know what it is
Well-
about jazz specifically, as opposed to like the blues or pop. I don't like heavy metal as much.
Mhm.
You know, country, I'm kind of,
Well, maybe it's. I mean, if you're mathematically inclined, it might
And I
appeal
did
to you
like
more.
disco.
It might appeal to you more than if you're not. You know.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think those there's a lot of taste there, but there's also a lot of
Mhm.
exposure. So if you've heard a
Right,
lot of it,
right.
you'll tend to be able to go along with it better. But I would suggest like listen to the Miles Davis album Kind of Blue
Mhm.
because it's such a great door into jazz. It's very listenable. It's not chaotic. And it's I think it is still the highest selling jazz album of all time.
Yeah.
And I think that's because it appeals to classical musicians, it appeals to rock musicians, pop musicians, and it's a great way into jazz. I think that
Mhm.
almost anyone can go, okay, I
And it
think I
inspired so
can
many other musicians too.
exactly,
And like the
exactly.
Velvet Underground.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't think that's the first time that
Everybody who
album
hears
was.
it goes and makes a band kind of thing.
I don't think that's the first time it was been mentioned on our podcast, Aaron. Isn't that the album you probably
Yeah,
mentioned? Yeah. So
It's
that's on my to-do
easily my
list.
favorite Miles album.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's just
Well, maybe
absolutely
we should
stunning.
do an audible about it.
Yeah.
We have this thing we do called Aaron's audible audio
Audio
audible.
audibles.
Yes.
Okay.
I call it audio edibles because I misheard it once and think it's funny. But basically, it has to be an album Philip hasn't heard in its entirety.
Okay.
And then what we do is we listen to the whole album and we basically rank which songs we liked and kind of give a little why.
Yeah, we do a deep dive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Kind of
that's
go over
cool.
it track
That's a
by
great
track.
idea.
You want to listen to it at least. Aaron's rule is 3 times.
We got about 30. We got about 30 audibles in the
That many
can.
already? Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
and so we nominate a banger of the podcast. So I'm going to do a set list one time. It's got all the bangers in it, and then we'll
Okay.
do a show on that. So,
Mhm.
but
And do you generally concur, or are there like a lot of different
No,
opinions
there's-
on it?
Oh yeah, there's a lot of differences.
Okay.
yeah, we rank.
I mean, usually
Yeah,
the banger, there's a point system. I'm sorry, go
Yeah,
ahead,
we
Aaron.
do
It
kind
is
of like
your-
I don't know if you've ever played
baby.
fantasy baseball, rotisserie baseball,
No.
but basically however many people are involved in that one, or however many tracks are on the album. The number, say there's 10 tracks, the number 1 track you vote for gets 10 points, number 2 gets 9. It's like a ranked voting, ranked choice voting.
Mhm.
So that number 10 just gets 1 point, and then we do our rankings and they get added up on the other tab of the spreadsheet, and we have the banger unless there's a tie.
Yeah.
Oh,
So it's
sounds
formulaic,
Mhm.
but you got to have some sort of gimmick. But
Yeah.
some of our musical guests are like, "Oh, I love this album, but I could never, be so."
I could never choose one of the babies.
Which is fine. We don't have to. We
Right.
don't always have to do the ranking part.
Yeah.
Right.
So
And it can be more difficult with jazz, especially like Coltrane, when it's pretty much the same song
Ooh.
throughout the whole disc.
Oh yeah, Coltrane's hard.
Mm.
Well, that we're at the point where we're starting to maybe look at the Elite 8 mini bracket. But I do have a question I wanted to ask you. Is there as a performer? You said you worked with Joey Bishop, and we didn't really get into any other artists that you may have worked with. But is there anyone past or present that you would drop everything to perform with?
Oh boy. I think I did get to perform with this musician many times, and he became a kind of a personal friend. His name is Kenny Wheeler. He was a Canadian trumpet player who I think was one of the most important trumpet players after Miles Davis. And like I said, I got to perform with him many times and record with him once as well. So that, to me, that was kind of one of the highlights of my performance life was working with him.
Awesome.
Today, I don't perform anymore. I have a hand condition. I had to retire from that about 16 years ago. So that's when I started doing a lot of writing. So it was a curse, but it was also kind of a blessing because it just opened up a whole new career for me, really, as an author, which has been really fun.
And go ahead and mention your latest book.
Yeah, well, it's I have a jazz pedagogy book out. It's called Materials and Concepts in Jazz Improvisation, and it was really kind of funny the way it came about. I would post these. I call them instant expert sheets because one of my profs in classical music did that. So he'd have a sheet up on his door, be an instant expert on pentatonic scales or whatever. And so I started doing that as a jazz teacher. And I kept getting requests from students. Hey, can you do an instant expert sheet on this, on that? Eventually, I had like 50 pages of stuff. And I thought, wait a minute, this is kind of a book.
You got the makings of a book. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's how it came about. Was I realized, wow, if I flesh this out, I've got a book. So I put that together. And it's done quite well. It's on Amazon. I mean, it's a niche audience, but I do pretty good sales every year. And
it's sort of crowdsourced material they request.
Yeah. So what's it called? The
book is called Materials and Concepts in Jazz Improvisation. And it's I actually got contacted by some publishers to say, hey, we'd like to publish it. And I said, okay. And I said, what's the deal? What's the contract? And they said, well, you get 10%. Excuse me?
10%.
Yeah, there's no way. And I think I got that up to 15 or 20, but that's when I realized, man, if you give your book away, you're not making anything. Yeah, so I self-publish it. You order it and they print it and ship it out, which is really pretty cool because you couldn't do that, 30 years ago even.
Yeah, well, and in our youth, being self-published was a point against.
Yeah,
it was basically if no one wants to publish it, no one, why would you pay $500? That's a vanity publish.
Yep.
It's just for your own purposeful vanity.
Yeah,
whereas nowadays,
not the way it is anymore.
Especially since 2020, self-publishing is actually kind of more the way to go.
Well, we have a lot of self-publishers. So we'll make sure to put that in the notes. But are you up to doing the Elite 8 mini brackets?
Sure.
Okay.
All trumpet players.
Yes. So we're talking.
Can I be the MC on this?
Sure. So
okay.
We should say we're talking. We should mention our guest's name occasionally, and it's Kurt Ellenberger.
That's right. I keep trying to remember to do that.
Yes, renowned.
And we're coming to you from the Antisocial Network.
Yes. Correct. Very good,
thank
Aaron.
You, Aaron.
Very good. I put that in our intro. So,
Philip's kind of our management. Aaron's our detail, and I am Vox Populi.
There you go.
Okay.
All right.
Love it.
At least you're going to be the Wink Martindale of our.
Yes. Okay. So, I don't really need this.
Jack Barry. I just
Here
watched
you
Jack
Barry.
Jack Barry.
Oh, Jack Barry. Yeah. Okay.
Peter Marshall.
Peter Marshall. Well, then she has to talk about making whoopee, which we're back into jazz.
There you go.
Yeah. Making whoopee.
That's show tunes.
So we blended in some popular trumpeters versus some very serious jazz, legendary trumpeters. So it'll probably go a certain way, but by the time we get to the end of it, it's going to be a pretty colossal. It'll be a Godzilla versus King Kong type of matchup at the end of it.
Hunch, can you get that over here?
No.
Sorry, I can't.
No, I can't.
Okay. Never mind. Okay, so we've got, excuse me for leaning in and squinting. We've got Doc Severinsen versus Hugh Masekela.
Masekela, yep.
Okay. That may be spelling.
And that's Hugh's. That's the one your sister was really into, right?
Yeah. And I really enjoyed the music that she passed along for us to check out. I didn't know Hugh Masekela at all, but I really thought it was dynamite.
Yeah, he's a South African trumpet player. I actually saw him in. I think it was in Frankfurt, Germany, like about
Oh, nice.
12, 15 years ago, something like that. I forget.
And of course, Doc was the band leader of the Tonight
Yep.
Show band.
Yep.
So,
I share a birthday with Johnny Carson and Weird Al.
Oh,
so Kurt, who
Nice.
would you take over those two outstanding trumpeters?
I have to go Doc Severinsen because that's what I'd hear every night for the first 20 odd years of my life.
I'd have to go Doc Severinsen too. But you know, they're totally different players. Masakela is a more of a folk improviser in kind of the jazz vein, but has all the folk music from South Africa in it, and he's great. But Doc Severinsen, just technically speaking, is one of the most extraordinary trumpet players who has ever lived. The things that he can pull off on that instrument are things that almost no one else could even approach. And he's still playing.
Yeah,
So I gotta give the nod to the
He's
Doc.
like, almost
Yep.
100.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm gonna make it a sweep. Although, like I said, I really liked Hugh. So, but anyway, what's the next matchup, Lisa?
Louis Armstrong versus Wynton Marsalis.
Oh boy.
Tough one.
Well, again, they're both fantastic. Louis Armstrong. I mean, I've got to go with Louis Armstrong just for the fact that he was one of the original innovators who put modern jazz on the map. I mean, he broke out of the Dixieland stuff, started doing more complex improvisations, and really set the stage for everything that came afterwards. Wynton is a great player, but he doesn't have that legacy of innovation, even though he's also an amazing trumpet player and one of the few who does jazz and classical at the very highest levels. That's really rare. But sorry, I gotta go Louis.
Understandable.
Yeah. Louis never played with the Grateful Dead, and Wynton did, but I got to go Louis too.
Okay. I'm going to go with Louis, although Wynton, he's not the leader of the Kennedy Center band, right? Is that his brother?
No. Well, he's not either anymore.
He's at
retired.
the Lincoln. He's at the
Lincoln.
Lincoln.
Yeah,
Center.
the Lincoln Center.
Yeah,
Lincoln
The
Center.
Lincoln Center. Okay. All right. So
didn't he retire from that recently or step down?
yeah, like that last week, I think. Although he's got a farewell tour coming to him, I think. All right, Lisa, what's the next?
Is it a tour or a residency?
Well, I'm just saying he's not going. It's going to in the future. He's not going to. He's not dropping his trumpet right now and walking off.
Well, here's a little backstitch for you. Sorry. Go ahead.
He's just done with Lincoln Center.
Yes, dear. Miles Davis versus Kenny Wheeler. Little bit of a backstitch.
Oh man. Okay.
Man,
I don't know.
Tough matchup for you.
That was mean. I'm sorry. I snuck that in on you.
Oh boy. Yeah.
I'm gonna go ahead and say Miles Davis, and
I think I'm gonna have to say Miles Davis, even though I love and revere Kenny Wheeler. I think Kenny Wheeler kind of picked up the baton afterwards with Miles Davis. But Miles Davis did, again, like Louis Armstrong. Without Miles Davis in the late 40s and especially in the 50s and 60s, jazz is a different beast. I mean, the guy was just an innovator, and he had this real skill of being able to pull the right players in at the right time to get the sound that he wanted. And his footprint on jazz is just huge. So I got to go with Miles Davis.
And his footprint on improvisational rock music.
Well, I'm going to go with Miles also, but there again, you're going to hear this a lot tonight at the Grammys. It's a honor just to be nominated.
So Grammys are tonight.
Mr. Wheeler has nothing to be ashamed of.
Well, according to Channel 5.
I believe it. I just completely oblivious to it.
Here's our last matchup of round one here. We've got about 5 minutes. We should be able to get this in.
Okay. Dizzie Gillespie versus Herb Alpert.
Well, I played with Dizzie Gillespie at the Detroit Jazz Festival.
Wow.
So I got to meet him and be really up close with him. For me, it's that this is an easy one. Dizzie Gillespie is, along with Charlie Parker, the inventor of bebop. And again, that's such a legacy there that without that, there wouldn't have been the type of jazz, or jazz wouldn't have gone where it did. Herb Alpert, a great player, kind of more in the pop kind of realm. I wouldn't really put him in like a serious heavy jazz player. So I got to go with Dizzie Gillespie. Just legacy, chops, inventor of bebop. That's an easy one.
Okay.
Yeah, I love nothing more than making margaritas and listening to Herb Alpert, but I'm gonna have to go Dizzy.
Right.
Oh, so you just like the album covers, Aaron?
I like the album covers too, but I
What-
like the music
We had
covers
the,
within too.
We had the album
Lemon
cover
Tree and
with a woman in the bathtub with whipped cream.
Love
Whipped
Potion.
cream
Yeah,
and other
that-
delights.
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure the reason why we had that was because of the album cover.
Well, I like the
Because
lonely.
neither of my parents enjoyed jazz or anything of that
Yeah.
nature.
My
love-
kids referred to that album as Cake Lady growing up.
Mm.
I love
Okay.
the Lonely Bull too. I love that. But, Dizzy for me also. All right.
Okay.
So this is the
So
final
we're at
four.
level 2, final 4. Doc Severinsen versus Louis Armstrong.
I got to go Louis Armstrong. Just again, the legacy and the innovation and moving the ball forward like that. There wouldn't have been a Doc Severinsen without Louis Armstrong.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
All right.
Louis.
Louis.
Okay.
Yeah, I hate to do it, Doc, but I'm going to go with Louis also.
Yeah.
All right.
Miles Davis or Dizzie Gillespie.
This is tough again, but I think I'm just going to have to defer to Dizzie Gillespie because he single-handedly invented bebop with Charlie Parker. So it's an entirely new way of playing the trumpet, and that's what Miles Davis kind of inherited, and then he took the ball and carried it a lot further. So maybe I'm exposing myself as kind of a, original, the founders
OG.
kind of guy, but yeah, I have to go with Dizzie Gillespie.
All right.
All
I'm
right.
gonna go with Miles and make Phil break the tie.
Wow. Yeah, I'm a victim of my own design here. I'm gonna have to go with Miles Davis, I guess. I can understand your loyalty to Dizzy, and he's a legend.
That's a tough
Especially
matchup.
Having
Yeah.
performed with him, that's quite a. I'm sure there's more stories that you could.
Yeah, you
tell us about
voted
that.
against 2 legends you performed with now.
Oh no. Well, Kurt supported.
What is it? Looking behind the curtain?
All right, here we go. We got a heavy, heavy duty matchup
And
here
the
for the
heavy
final.
duty final matchup.
The prize fight. The prize fight. Look, I'm wearing Muhammad Ali shirt.
Oh,
This
yeah.
is the heavyweight championship of trumpet playing.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Louis Armstrong versus Miles Davis.
I think you know my answer. I got to go with the original. I got to go with Louis Armstrong. And that's not discounting anything that Miles did, but
Yeah,
No.
it's a binary choice. So
yeah.
that's what I got to go for.
Kind of with you there. I'm thinking of the big cheeks puffed out.
I'll throw one to Miles just out of appreciation of
Respect.
the modernization, I guess, of the form or whatever. But
Mhm.
it should be close. But there's no shame in Louis winning this one.
Okay, now do we have a moment for one more question?
Let's see. We've got
We got about a minute.
about a minute.
A little
Okay.
less than a minute.
Okay, when I was very young, early in elementary school, 2nd or 3rd grade, I was learning music. They had signed up, it was complicated, but the music teacher called my parents in and said, yeah, she'd be better off taking something that isn't music. And my mother was like, well, what's the problem? And she was like, well, is it related to her being left-handed? Because I am very left-handed.
Just
Uh,
mouth the words.
My right hand probably couldn't pass much of an IQ test.
All right, all right, Kurt.
So,
Yeah, we got
Yeah.
about 25 seconds to get Kurt's. Where
Okay.
can we find you? What your social media?
oh yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. My website is kurtellenberger, my name.com. So it's pretty easy to find. And you can find links to all my articles online on Huffington Post, on All About Jazz and other places there. Plus all my music is there as well.
All right, man. Have
And
a great
his books
Sunday.
on Amazon.
It's been a
Yeah.
pleasure.
Books on Amazon. Yeah.
Books on Amazon.
All
Hey,
right.
thanks a lot.
Yeah, it's
Sure.
been fun.
Thank you.
This was a lot of fun.
Cool.
Yeah,
Do it
really
again.
enjoyed
We'll maybe you
love-
can bring an audio audible.
Would love
Yeah,
to.
right.